Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time it is you're listening to this. Welcome to episode 6 of the What Am I Doing podcast. This week's episode is with comedian Kris Beattie, and it is a cracker. I wanted to talk to Kris for a long time and get him on the podcast. He was actually he was the person emceeing my first ever stand-up show. So it was kind of nice to have like a bit of a full circle. And we chatted a little bit about that. We chatted about like why he got into stand-up comedy and the things that stopped him doing it, what took him so long. Well, it takes us all long, but how he built it up in his head and it's this really big thing, something that he needed to overcome, and that if he didn't do it, he wouldn't be able to kind of forgive himself, and how eventually he did it and realized how, these things that were in his head didn't exist as much. And I can relate to that pretty hard when it comes to doing stand-up. It took me a long time to do it, and I was like, oh, why did it take me so long to do this? This wasn't even that big of a deal. So yeah, also the motivating factor of being funny then one of his son's friends. I feel that energy quite hard, and we go into that a little bit of some of the motivating factors, what made you do stand-up and what kept you doing it. As Kris is a very, very extremely talented person and a very funny comedian, so you can check Kris out. He's actually headlining the show myself and Gavin put together out in Newtown. That's on the 21st of August on a Friday. Tickets are available now on Event Finder, $15, and Kris is headlining that. We got Jim Stanton emceeing, myself, Gav obviously, Jules Daniels, Advet, and I don't know if we've announced we have a special guest coming. Well, we hope. I don't know if it's confirmed, but look out for a special guest for that one. And yeah, Kris is doing the medicine this week on the 12th at the Powwow Room. I'm also on that night, so anyone who's around, come check it out. And yeah, look, it's a good one. And we're starting to roll the podcast a little bit longer now. I'm starting to find my stride, chatting with the guests, and I think we're getting. It seems like the conversations are turning more longer form rather than the original hour. So this one runs about an hour and 20. I think we could have probably done another 2 hours, but unfortunately we still have 9-to-5 jobs, and well, I do anyway. Kris is relief teaching, so he did have to work the next day. So yeah, we both had jobs, so we had to cut it off pretty early. 9 o'clock for two dudes in their 30s is kind of late. So yeah, okay. Thank you for everyone who's been listening and liking, subscribing. Please do it more if you can. Share the episode. Tell all your friends. Look, even if you don't like the episodes, what I would like you to do is just have them playing in the background of your office. You don't even have to have the sound on. Just get the views up. If you work in an office where people don't lock their computers, just go to there, go open up YouTube, type in the What Am I Doing podcast, play it on all their computers. They don't even have to know. Like, just put it on like a tab that they won't see. Do that. Actually, I might do that when I go into work on Monday. And there's a lot of people in my office. If you could do that, set up dummy accounts. Let's do it. Let's just get the word out there. Spread the word. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. All right, I'm going to shut up now, and you can listen to the episode. Cheers. Bye-bye. So we are live. Well, no, we're not live. I gotta stop saying we're live because that really confuses people. We're recording, and I think. Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
That would be handy. Yeah, I think you're good. Your level is quite good.
When I talk, that goes orange.
Yeah, so that's apparently what we need.
Right.
It's apparently what we need. I don't know. I'm still quite new to this. The podcast is called What Am I Doing?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm doing. And I've been left alone because my fiance is out having a dinner she regrets going to. And she's left me to fend for myself.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
and here you are with this. What is that called? An 8-track?
No. What is an 8-track?
I got no idea. I just saw it. Okay. That could be an 8-track.
No, I think to me the 8-track is where you play cassettes from.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, so you don't know what it is. So me saying what I think it is isn't really going to help.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, that's right. It's a double what? I don't know.
Also, us talking about the mixer is very visual, and we don't have a camera.
No.
So if you could stop looking at the mixer.
Sure. I'm more obsessed with my orange lights.
Don't worry about that. You're fine. Okay, I may have done too much preamble about the mixer, and now
Yeah.
Kris can only focus on the mixer.
Yeah, fascinated.
Strong start. Strong
Yeah.
start. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Now look, we're in the room now at least. You
Yeah.
can put your water on like the shelf there.
I was worried about this the TV that people can't see.
The TV again.
I
We
didn't wanna
we are
spill
going to get video. We are, but I don't have enough subscribers because people are lazy.
Alright, I'll put that up here.
That's fine. Yeah.
For the viewers at home.
For the viewers
Let's
at
just
home.
buy the TV.
For the viewers at home, I was going to call you Tim there. Kris has placed his water on the TV console. So he's worried that it was going to hurt the TV.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get too rambunctious.
No, and let's not cover everything in the room. Hey, we've covered the 8
We've
track.
covered
got the
the
water.
8 track that's not an 8 track. The massive TV. Maybe that's good I don't have video because then people would come to my house and steal things.
Yeah.
Also, it's not my TV, so just
Just
so people
don't spill water on it. Is the
Well, I
main
don't
thing.
care really. It's
Yeah.
I had people turn up Saturday night, and I don't answer the door unless I know specifically it's for me. So there's big rap on the door on Saturday night, and I was like, no, I'm not moving. I've done my business. And then another rap at the door, like a loud rap on the door. And I go down. I was in my pajamas. It was 9:30 on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And these 2 guys turned up, and they had like bike helmets, and they're like, "Oh, we heard on a Discord server that we can get gear here." And I was like, "No, how? Who are you?" And I just closed the door. That's apparently where kids are getting drugs now on Discord servers.
Right.
I'm not fully sure what they are.
Well, in the same way that I don't know what an 8 track is, I don't know what a Discord server is.
Good, you're a great guest. I
Yeah.
must say, Kris.
I don't know a lot.
You don't know a lot, but we
know
did.
about technology.
Okay, what do you know about Kris?
What? Ask me anything. I know all the things.
You know all the
except
things.
technology.
Okay,
I'd like to just start by saying thanks for having me on your show, and thank you for buying me Tim Tams and Choco Aid biscuits.
yeah, this is how we're gonna get like guests on in future. I'm just gonna bribe them with biscuits.
Each guest gets a token gesture of something.
Something.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
I haven't figured
Mine's
what that out is.
biscuits.
I really need to figure out the spend on what that's gonna be because
Yeah.
I'm still not making money on this. Which is
You're still paying back the 8 track.
back. Well, okay, so we're getting in on the mixer. So because I don't do research, I'm not allowed to do research anymore for anything I purchase. That's been nullified.
Yeah.
I was allowed to do research for this mixer because I was like, it's my podcast, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And what I did was I googled what is the best podcast setup. How can you go wrong? They're like, this is great for beginners, fantastic. Now I got it. The first one I got didn't have a USB port, and I was like, it's fine. I can just plug the microphone like into the laptop.
Yeah.
Now my laptop doesn't have a microphone in, so I couldn't use that mixer.
No.
So I bought this one, which has just the USB. It's all very simple, so idiots like me can't fuck it up.
Right.
So I looked at the original like article I clicked into, and it was from 2016.
Right.
So that's
so already 4 years. Right.
yeah. So that's why I'm not allowed to do my own research anymore.
I see. Right.
you know,
right,
and that's part of being in a relationship. Is like, these are my faults.
Can you work?
Can you please help me?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair enough. Well, good on you for giving it a go.
I gave it
Very
a go, a
proactive
very
of you.
bad go. But
What episode number is this? It's exciting. I'd like to want to know what number I am.
You number 6.
Oh, nice.
Number 6.
That's
It's a good
exciting.
number.
Yeah.
What's your
I'd go
favorite
with that.
number?
Highest number on a dice. So I'll take that.
What's your favorite number?
Oh, gosh, what a question.
You-
Genuinely, when I was a kid, my favourite number, I have no idea why, it was 266. I just liked the aesthetic of that number. I used to write it in my books. How about that? 266. Lovely stuff. But I haven't got a favourite number. I haven't got a favourite number.
Well, you do. Like, why would it change?
Well, I guess I can keep that one, but it never really lasted into adulthood.
No,
266.
that's probably a good thing.
Just used to love that number. Like, what a number that was.
What-
Yeah.
Where do you think you seen it first?
Don't know.
And you
Just
were like, that's it.
maybe I did some maths and found got that answer. I just vividly remember. You know, like you remember the weirdest things, right? I couldn't. You just remember the stuff you just remember. You're like, just always stuck with me. Yeah.
There's a hard hitting stuff from Kris.
Yeah. I've heard your podcast is like drugs and all that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
My
when I
favourite
work-
number when I was a kid.
We're talking about childhood arithmetic.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I was such a child, I can't remember why it was my favourite number. I can't go back to it anymore.
Yeah. I'd feel a bit sad that I haven't got one. Maybe I need to have a real think.
Mine, I think again, mine as a child was 7. 'cause
What is it
was
now?
David Beckham's number. At
Oh,
United.
okay, fair enough.
So that
fair
was
enough.
like-
yeah.
That was my number, and my favourite colour was red.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it really was my favourite colour. It's just because Man United were red.
Oh, so I'm a Liverpool fan. My favourite colour's red, and I did used to like 9 because Ian Rush.
Oh,
Remember
Ian
him?
Rush. I was going to say
He
Robbie
was-
Fowler, but
No, a bit older than that.
Bit older.
Yeah. Although they did play together.
Did they?
Briefly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not for long, but yeah.
yeah,
When Fowler came through, Rush was on his
on his decline.
He was my boyhood hero. Ian
Yeah?
Rush, yeah. Which is weird when you look at the guy.
You
with
don't
his
look like he
moustache.
should be a boyhood.
No, he's not. No, he looks like someone who could be arrested.
It is so funny looking like the 80s footballers. And then, like, children used to like these people. They all looked like they'd murder someone.
There's that guy with the really high shorts showing a lot of leg.
It's funny that, like, it was probably like the sport when it was at its most physical. And the outfits were just, like, they were wearing hot pants and really tight, small T-shirts. And they're just going out
Yeah.
and murdering each other on the pitch.
Yeah, showing a lot of flesh as aiming points.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Like, you would have watched Vinnie Jones quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember you watch some of these compilations, like Vinnie Jones is worst. Like, some of the tactics. Hey, Vinnie, see number 4. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Make sure that he doesn't play anymore. And I think there's like 30 seconds into the game, he just goes over and like jackknifes him, and it gets sent off, and you're like, did it?
Yeah. They were the days.
Where they go?
80s football.
No, yeah. I think, could you still stand in the stadiums in the 80s?
Well, they put a ban on it, didn't they? In the 90s.
In the 90s
they
they did
stopped
that,
it, didn't
yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah. After Hillsborough and all that.
Hillsborough, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you won anyway. You finally won. Do you care about football anymore? That's the thing.
Good. No. Well, yeah, kind of. I follow it, but it's so hard. When I first came here in 2011, and I was down. I used to follow it really as much as I could, and I'd go to what's the bar called, the Four Kings, and I'd be there at 3 in the morning watching FA Cup semi-finals, and I was really into it. And then just slowly, I just like I can't do this anymore.
It's too much.
And I still like I love looking at results and who scored and where people are in league tables, and even that it's just too hard. And so I got into rugby. I just started watching rugby because you can touch it, feel it. It's there.
Yeah. I went the opposite way. I went to see the Phoenix play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they're trying like
Yeah.
it's like the football aside, what the fans are trying to do
I know.
when they're like you're not singing anymore, and there's no one there because everyone has to fly 8 hours from Australia to watch an away game.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, it's like, of course they're not singing. nobody's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So I went. Yeah. So I think like my first week I arrived, I went to see the Phoenix play. I was like, maybe I'll get into football in New Zealand, and I went down, and the stadium was like a quarter full, and I thought, oh, look at them for kind of trying. But it's like, you know, when you've been able to watch the higher standard, it's harder to go and watch something that's not as enough.
I think it's the expectation of going to a stadium that's huge, and it not being packed. I don't think the standard matters as much sometimes, but it's like the atmosphere is like watching the games now when there's no one in the stadium.
Yes,
is like. I was watching like a compilation of like some of the goals scored at the start of this season.
Yeah.
And then goals which are technically as good as the ones at the start of the season, but there's not that crowd reaction.
Right.
They just look
fair
they look worse.
Yeah.
They look worse because there's no one there. It's like you expect to hear the big cheer, and it's just like, all right, Dev, well done.
But it's like, because if you took the same crowd and put them in a smaller venue or wherever, or smaller arena or whatever, and then of course the atmosphere would be amazing, because it would be full, and you'd have that kind of feeling. But you could, if you have 10,000 people in a 35-seater stadium, it something.
And there's always like two people who are just the furthest away from everyone in the stadium, and you're like, what? How much? Why? Why there? Well, I don't understand that. Yeah, it's funny. It's just you people who clearly, I think it's like you could get to pick your tickets before going. So we go, oh, these are the gold tickets. You know, these will sell out. And you just see these two people and the whole having the whole stadium to themselves almost. And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they like that feeling of being in a whole square of seats and
I'm gonna
Dome
try
just
that
in the middle
when we're allowed to watch to go back to the stadium.
Have you been
again.
to the Westpac to watch rugby when it's full?
No, I haven't.
It's a great stadium when it's full.
I need to do that.
Yeah,
I need to do that.
Watch the All Blacks there. That's a good experience.
Oh yeah, I only had to work one night when the All Blacks were here.
Yeah,
and that wasn't fun. I was working in a bar, and everyone was just getting trashed before the game.
Yeah,
I was like, no.
Well, maybe in 5 years, people can come to this country and we can have it again. But yeah.
No. Well, look, we are getting crowds. The comedy scene is getting crowds.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, Kris is a comedian, by the way.
Yeah, I do the laughs. It's brilliant at the moment. I'm really appreciating what we've got. Everything you go to, there's a decent crowd. It's the best it's been. It's fantastic.
And how long have you been in the Wellington scene? You've been
just over 3 years.
Just over 3 years.
Yeah.
I actually, before you came on, I watched a set you did on Mic Drop.
Yeah. I was 5 months into my career.
Yeah.
You see how hard I hold the mic?
Yeah.
I got like the tension in my arms.
You move a lot as well.
I do. Yeah. I'm
But the jokes were very good, but you're like, you could tell you had that like early start of just like, and I'm gonna turn to the crowd now. And I'm gonna turn to the crowd now.
Yeah.
It's like
I was clunky, and I was full of tension. But that's all right. It was one of the things where like they asked me to do it. They'd obviously seen me do something that had gone quite well at, and they asked me to do it. And I was like, well, I can't say no, because it felt like a bit of a badge of honor. Like, I get to do this, and they film it and everything like that. So I was, and then now I watch it, and I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should have kind of just waited a little while and see if I can get on something a bit later. But it was still.
I don't think so. I think it's really. I think it's still really good.
Oh, do you think?
Oh yeah, no, it's still really good. But like it's
yeah.
Once you've done something, you watch it with a different eye.
Right. Yeah,
once you're doing something for a while, I was like, I remember when I used to do those kind of things when you're early enough in the game, you're more nervous, and you're like, you haven't got your rhythm yet, and you haven't got your your kind of presence on stage yet.
Yeah.
And
you're still finding your voice, and you're still kind of figuring out what you. Yeah.
But it's funny watching that and seeing you now, and just like how you can see all the kernels of like what your act will turn out to be.
Yeah.
And you all see it there in that clip.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of that stuff anymore. Interestingly, they cut a fair bit of that out because I didn't want anything online with me because I was at the time I was teaching.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want like parents of the kids I taught listening to me swearing or talking about something. So there's a few bits I asked them to edit out because I just I didn't really want to have online content. I'm teaching this mum and dad 7-year-old child, and they go online, and I'm talking. You know what I mean? So I have to be even now. I'm still a bit aware of being careful at what's online about me. Yeah.
Does that influence what you write about and how you are on stage?
Not really. No. It just what I'll have online. I'm just a little bit careful. Not so much now, but I think back then when I was well involved in my teaching career, I just thought, I used to have this bit about. Did you see the bit about? I used to do this bit. It's kind of. It was about the avocado, the burger and the avocado.
Yeah.
I used to do that. And I used to do a different version of the kiwi burger, and I used to do a rude bit about the pineapple ring. As you can imagine. So I had to kind of change that. That was the bit I kind of edited out. Because I was like, something about talking about penetrating a pineapple ring that you just can't. I didn't really want,
I can see it. But I don't think your act is in any way, offensive or dirty.
I'm a pretty clean comedian.
You're very clean, but you have that, you're clean, but you have a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
Just a small bit.
I think you need risk. I think you need to have some kind. I think a little bit. If you're too, I don't know. Maybe people would disagree, but I think if you're,
fuck them.
Yeah, I think if you're too, you've got to have. Yeah, like you say, you've got to have some edge. You've got to have some grit. You've got to have something that's a little bit. Yeah.
Well, it's like your observation has to have a little bit of snap to it. You can't just all be clear cut. You have to have a little grit or a little bit of
Yeah. I think so. What's I quite like the comedian George Carlin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was one of those comedians I got into after he died. I didn't really know much about him, and I was like, I've watched a lot of him. He talked a lot about that. About you've got to make an audience can't be too comfortable. There's got to be an element of.
And also I think that's interesting because you think when you go into comedy. You're like, these people need to laugh all the time. So my experience is like, try and do things that will make them laugh, that are going to be funny, that are silly. And instead of, sometimes it's okay for the audience to be uncomfortable and to build tension.
Yes.
That whole thing, the idea of building tension to get the laugh was extremely foreign to me at the start. It's like, no, they all have to have a good time.
Yeah.
But you've got to kind of trick them with the, you build the tension, you mask where you're going.
Yeah.
And I think if you're too nice out the gate, or you may fail at learning to build.
Yeah. Or I think you've got to be a very good if you're completely inoffensive, I think you've got to be very very clever with what you do.
Yeah.
Like Advait, I think, who you've already spoke to, he's pretty clean. He used to be even cleaner. Very every subject matter was quite clean. But he's so clever with his writing and his words that you just go, how did you do that?
His jokes
could talk about
fully formed.
Yes, yeah. He just knows how to write a joke and how to say something. He could say something funny about buttercups in a field on a spring day, and he would find a clever way to do it.
Yeah, I know. I hate watching Advait because I would go, fuck you.
Yeah.
Every time it comes out with a joke, I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Give us a break.
How do you do it? And his catalogue, his repertoire is just... I mean, he could. It feels like he could have a good 6 hours. He could.
I think so, yeah.
Just so many jokes.
So, how do you find that? This obviously deciding on what's good, but you were doing an hour. Well, I'm sorry to bring it up like this. But going to be doing an hour at the Comedy Fest.
I was, I had my first hour, my debut hour, and it got cancelled. That's okay. It was like the milestone, it was like that was the next milestone was doing the hour and that kind of thing. And I was I made sure I'd kind of the show was about stuff that I'd already written about, so I didn't have to write a new hour.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of the stuff I was doing was about being British, about my observations of New Zealand. So I think I already had half an hour.
Yeah.
I just had to put some bits in, add some bits, stuff like that. So it was kind of a bit of a
I like the title of the show. It's like feedback.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, you know, and a foreigner in New Zealand, but also a teacher. Like it was.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
yeah.
It was like, I like the premise of the show.
Yeah.
And also your observations on New Zealand are genuinely hilarious.
Thank you. And also the feedback thing was the idea of a microphone and a speaker.
Oh, look, you've got me in 3 levels now.
Yeah, it was a it was a
It's a
3-level.
big
The genius behind the title.
Oh, the genius behind Kris Beattie. The show had 3 millions. It was genuinely horrific. We didn't get to see it. How did you find working out? Like, did you work out the show at all? The hour? Were you doing stuff beforehand?
I'd had the premise. I had everything ready, and I'd applied with the idea of what I was going to include. And then I was at the point where I was like, okay, once the new year hit, and I had about 3 months left, I thought, now I'll work solidly hard. I was going to give a video. I was going to do I was going to do this kind of mock tour guide to Wellington with me interviewing people in the street. I was going to kind of go, and show that as well as a bit of a halfway point. So I had all these kind of bold, grand ideas, and then before I could really go down that route, COVID hit, and it was all kind of over. So part of it was like, oh, whew, that's a bit of relief. But it would have been nice to have been at that point.
Yeah, and I like that idea of going around as the tour. I like that. Well, it'd be hard to do it now because there's no tourists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I
but
even had thoughts of I wanted to get like a politician, or I wanted to get like the Wellington mayor and see if he'd do like a skit with me or something. I had all these grand ideas, but
isn't Mittens the mayor of Wellington?
Sorry,
Mittens, isn't that the mayor of Wellington?
The cat thing.
The cat
thing.
Not a fan?
Oh, I'm just trying to recall the story, but everyone knows about this cat called Mittens. And
Yeah. It's big deal in Wellington.
Right.
He hangs out. And
Mittens the cat.
Yeah.
Sounds like an arsehole. No,
Oh, no, we're going to get another comedian cancelled.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
But working on, like, what I meant about the hour itself, how did you work? Like, you'd most of the material kind of ready, like, about a good chunk of it well practiced and well versed beforehand.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to even start to work out, like, some
structure?
The structure of the hour. I know you can't get longer sets. It's tough to get, like, longer sets here, but did you?
I was kind of at the point of talking to comedians who had done hours and sort of getting their advice on how to do it. And, some people were like, try doing your 20, 20 and 20. Try and do your best bit at 40. Apparently there's this thing they call the sort of 40-minute lull, where that's when people start to... So they start to wane, apparently. And so I was kind of thinking about that, but no, I hadn't really gone down the structure route properly.
Okay.
It was all kind of up here, and it hadn't quite there. So that's the plan. What was the idea about it is I just wanted to have a show that I could take, so that once I had a show that I had done, I could then go, now I can apply for this festival, or now I can take it to Auckland, or now I can, it was something I could have under my belt that I had, and I could do solo. So it was a real shame. It would have been nice to just
to get
have that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then now I could have been applying for that one in Whangarei and the one in Palmerston.
You can still do that.
I could do. I kind of just wanted to do it sort of at home, where I had I don't know, just felt like I wanted to debut it at that festival. Okay.
Well, that's suppose, and I'm looking at this from a slightly cynical point of view, you do it in the comedy fest, you've got that credit to go with all the other fests in terms of this was at the
exactly.
I can
that's
see,
right. Yeah,
especially for marketing, you get people will say, comedy fest, and boom.
Yeah. Oh, especially because it's a festival that you apply for, and I think you need to have done some comedy and have a bit of credentials or whatever behind your name. So I guess so. But not that I can't. I thought about maybe doing it for the Fringe Festival next year.
I think so.
We'll see. I don't know. I wasn't mad on the post. I don't know. Like, kind of actually thinking, maybe. I don't know. In my head, I'm like, maybe I just do a different show. Like, just not do feet, but just do something that's just an hour of comedy and just not be restricted by the.
This is okay. So this is You're obviously from the UK, but your style of stand up, like, where do you kind of fall in? There's a US stand up where it's just jokes for like an hour, and then there's what you call the UK is maybe slightly more theatrical in terms of what a UK hour would be.
Yeah.
Are you follow me on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Well, my influence. I don't think my influences are straight stand-ups like the American guy. I don't think that's kind of me. I'm a bit of I'm a character of I'm a bit of a what's the word? I'm a caricature of myself on stage. I'm a dumber version of myself. I'm more comfortable not being 100% me. So I'd rather be like a character of me, if that makes sense, like a kind of an offshoot of what I'm like. So a lot of my intros are kind of silly. I like that kind of playfulness. I like kind of playing with the audience and saying things that are kind of, well obviously I wouldn't say that in real life.
No, but you do bring that, like, I think you put everyone at ease, and I think everyone gets when you get on stage, everyone gets the vibe pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
And there's very few people I've seen who can latch on and change the mood of a night as quickly as you do.
Right. Well, I think very hard. Yeah. So I think very hard about that first minute.
Yeah.
I want to do 4 silly things very quickly to set the tone, and that so that they sort of know who I am. Because I think in the past I've sort of that's been a little bit hazy, a bit like I can't. I've had some real bombs, and I think it's because in the past they've been like, I can't work this guy out. I don't get it. He's like a quirky. Is it real? Is it not? So I come on stage very obviously.
Yeah, I think the confidence changes it, because I think people get that you're intentionally being silly, but they go, oh no, he's got this. He's confident about his silliness.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
He's comfortable.
Yeah. I think that works. I think it works.
Have you ever been aggressively silly on stage and it not?
Well, like my worst bomb was when I was, I just went on stage with just too much energy. Yeah, and it flipped the whole thing, and they were like, "Oh no, we're not." So I had to be very careful. Yeah, like that. When I started, 6 months into when I started, for about a year, I was really mediocre, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing. Was it over the top? And I was really wrestling with like, maybe it's too much. Maybe I need to pull it back. Maybe I just need to be a bit more normal. And I just think I just kind of settled into it, and like you said, just became more comfortable and confident with what I was doing.
That's something. Do you think like you were overperforming?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like a bit try hard. A little bit like this guy's trying a bit hard. Because
I've noticed once it came out of lockdown, Ashlyn came to see me, and she was like, "You're doing good, but you're not being yourself on stage."
Right. Yeah.
And you again, it's that try hard kind of thing. It's like, I'm putting on a performance.
Yes.
And I've kind of switched it now, and it's like, oh, this feels right.
Yeah.
But what was it for you that like you maybe were able to make the switch in your head about where you were kind of not going wrong, but where you needed to make a change in your performance?
I don't know. I think it was more just. I think it's just that. Some sort of there's invisible things that are happening that you just don't realise are going on. Like you're making improvements that you don't know, and they just occur through time. So I think I was just kind of, I don't know. I just think I was just getting more used to it, just being more comfortable, and just sticking with it. But I don't know if I wasn't like a major shift that I kind of took. It's really hard. Like I don't think New Zealand audiences are mad on, in stand-up terms. I've always felt they like your salt of the earth person up there. Here's someone I can relate to. And in Britain, I think, and maybe in Ireland, you do see a lot more kind of characters. If you look at like Julian Barrett and Noel Fielding, if you look at some of their early stuff, they're like, they're quite, they're really kind of odd and quirky. And
Ross Noble as well.
Right, yeah.
You know Ross Noble?
Yeah, the Geordie guy.
Yeah. Like insanity on stage. I don't know how well that would go over here, because it's like a balled up energy, and I think it's much more reserved here as well. We talked about like sometimes the crowds are like, they won't laugh, but they'll come up to after you and go, "That was brilliant."
Yeah.
And you're like, "What?"
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. I think, from what I didn't do comedy in the UK, but I think New Zealand crowds are generally considered to be notoriously hard. to deal with. So apparently, if you're doing well in New Zealand, you're doing well.
Okay.
From what I can gather, but
Okay.
whether
Well, I
that's
went
true.
back to Ireland, and it was funny because the crowd was much chattier,
Right.
and not during the show, but like during the MC bit, everyone was like way up for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to see the difference between the audiences. I've definitely found that there is more polite laughter here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily helpful.
Yeah, and so you get some quite orderly. I think sometimes people are just maybe I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know. If it's like in Auckland or whatever, but yeah, maybe like when I was learning the MC thing and asking about what do I do as an MC. One of the things I remember them saying is make sure your job is to show them what a comedy show is. So talk to them and try and get them on your side, but also you need to introduce them with some material because they need to know that they're here for some comedy.
Yeah.
I think some people sort of not quite sure, like, why am I here?
Why am I here?
Oh, I'm here to laugh at these people who are going to come on stage. You know what I mean? Like, they almost need it spelled out sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Comedy is very much like it is a conversation.
Yeah.
And you have to let people know how that conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
So it's like I talk, you laugh. This is how this is going to work.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you come out, I think, and it's that's something that switched in my head as well. It's like the audience are there to have a good time, but they need to understand where you're coming from.
But what I like about New Zealand audiences is they're very honest. Like, because laughter is very contagious, isn't it? Like, you can be in a room and you can watch stand up on TV on your own, but you'll laugh more so you're with someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very kind of social thing. But what I like about New Zealand audiences is they feel very honest. Like, well, no, I'm enjoying this, but I don't have to laugh out loud and guffaw at everything you do. I'm just happy to have a good time. So there's a real honesty in
I think there's
Kiwi
sometimes
audiences.
you look out into the crowd and people are smiling on their head and you're like, do that louder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also getting used to that and knowing, because when you start out, anytime you hear a silence, you're like, oh, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. This is the end. And then you start to pay attention to people's faces and like, oh no, they're still with you.
Yeah. And you see a lot of comedians who come off and they think they've bombed, and I've said to them, oh no, I think they were enjoying it. They just weren't really loud. I can tell that there was enjoyment happening.
You're one of those guys in the green room. It's like, you did a good job, buddy. They didn't laugh, but they were with you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think there's kind of like there's a bomb. There's a pure bomb, but I think there's a kind of like, no, I think they were kind of into it. They just weren't.
We went through how like so I want to go back to this bomb where you went on all crazed, like,
yeah.
Where and what happened?
Oh, this was a couple of years ago, and
is that your worst one? Is it?
I headlined the Medicine. Yeah, I got the headline. I was asked to headline, and I did it. And it was a pretty quiet audience in the first half, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this won't go too well.
Yeah.
And then the two acts before me, they made some good work on the crowd. And I thought, oh, okay, I might be able to sort of salvage something. But I don't know what it was, but something in that first 2 minutes, and it just, And then the more you know you're bombing, the more you realise that you expect... You start dreading the punchline because you know nothing's going to come, and you're like, oh no, I've got 6 more of these.
Yeah, you almost feel like saying sorry after every punchline. You're like,
yes,
we'll just get this over with. Yeah,
and then you allude to the fact that you're bombing, and then no more good can come.
You get one. Yeah. I think you get one of those. You get when during a bad bomb, you can pull it back. Right, you can pull it back.
Yeah.
You get one. This is going bad, and that'll get a laugh. But you get one of those.
Yeah.
You have one chance to get them back. It's when you can use that. Yes, you get out of jail free card when you're bombing sometimes.
Yeah. But I also think that the more experience you get, the more you can salvage. The more comfortable you can be about salvaging your bomb or acknowledging what's happening on stage and making something of it. Do you know what I mean? Like acknowledging the fact that it's not going so well. You guys are pretty quiet. you know what I mean? Like you sort of you bomb less hard. I think
You bomb
the more
less hard. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you haven't got that in your armory, when you're relatively new and you haven't got that, that's a hard place to be.
I'm not sleeping tonight, Bob.
Yeah. That's a few tears in the car on the way home.
Do you think? Okay, so if we touched on like the audience, and then do you think it's if you're having a bad night or say the show, it's not going great, right? Do you think that's on the audience or on the comedian? Like, should you be able as a comedian to just turn the room around, or do you think the room is ever to blame?
I don't know. I think I don't think it helps anyone to blame an audience. I think it's good. You think to acknowledge that a crowd was particularly quiet is I think it's just like sometimes the chemistry just isn't there that night, or maybe like for some comedians they're into something that they're not into something else. Like I've very rarely seen a lineup show where every comedian has gone awfully. There's usually some people who have like the audiences have gone, oh yeah, I'm kind of with this person kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't think about that. I don't think about it too much. I'd much rather think about myself and what I could improve than whether it is a
So I mean in terms of if the room is going badly, you go, okay, it should be on you to switch it around. Like you should be how do I switch this around?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you go, oh, it's a rough room. It's like, well, you have to be able to switch it around, even if it's a quiet audience.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm maybe. I try and think it's my job to get them to laugh.
Yeah.
Even if they're not really, and it's the test of your material is like this needs to be general enough for everyone to get it, that it can bring an audience that are not on side.
Yeah.
Or quiet.
Or switching. I think switching from material to a little bit of banter, and like I said before, like, acknowledging what's happening and just breaking the fourth wall a little bit more. I think, I think maybe experienced comedians can really do that switch around.
I would consider you experienced.
Yeah, I don't know if I.
How long have you been? How long have you been? What, 3-4 years?
3, yeah. So like 3, yeah, just over 3 years or so. Yeah. So I'm quite experienced, but I don't think I'm in the realm of like being able to be halfway through, read something and switch it. I'm not.
No, I wasn't saying that. You should be able to do that, Kris. Your experience. But I mean, it's. I consider you like I've seen you. I've only ever seen you like pretty much kill every time I've seen you, and I don't know where I was going with that.
Let's let that ring out. That's the nicest compliment.
That's it. That's the end of it. I've only seen Kris kill.
This year I've had a really good year. Like I've had some really good.
You forgot about a couple of months.
Yeah. Oh, the bomb. Oh, this was the one.
I was talking about the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
I've had a really good year. It's just been amazing. 2020. Yes, Kris's year.
Sorry, everyone else. I'm having the time of my life. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry, you should try and suck less, everyone.
But since the lockdown coming back,
I think that's where everyone's year started. You know what I mean? Especially New Zealand.
Yeah. No. Thank. I have been doing well. I'm proud of myself.
Everything now is just going to make it sound like an asshole.
I know. Let's go back to the bomb. Oh yeah.
No. I think we found. Oh
yeah.
So yeah, how's your year going?
Yay, 2020. Yeah. Ian, thanks for having me. I've got your show coming up in.
Oh yeah. Kris is headlining, so he has been doing well. If I'm booking him.
Shit, yeah. That's great. I'm looking forward to that.
No, it's a fun show, man. It's fun. The last one was like it's a little bit wild and loose because it's in Newtown, you know.
Right.
We had this guy. He walked past the window. We didn't have a curtain, so he just saw a room full of people and started dancing when Miranda was on stage.
Oh, right.
So we had to go and kick him out up the street. We were like, hey, could you just not do that?
Yeah.
And then he came back like 2 minutes later, like, whoa.
Kick him off the street.
Yeah. We didn't have.
Get in a hat.
Yeah, we were like, hey, can you just move on? but he saw the audience and he was like, "I'm back again."
He wanted a piece of this, and now he's on this show.
Now he's warming up for you.
Yeah.
No, we're getting a curtain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we fixed that problem. We're getting a curtain. Yeah, sometimes very, very simple solutions can make the night come together.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. What about you? Like, where are you up to then in your... Because how long you've been doing it since I emceed your first show?
Yeah,
I remember that.
You emceed my first time doing comedy at an open mic.
Okay, but you've done it before.
Yeah, that was my first time doing stand-up. Like, I did it once before, but it doesn't... I kind of don't really count that.
How long ago was that then?
So that was 2019, March 2019.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I think I'd done it previously in Cambodia, at a sports bar.
Okay.
Just me and my mate. He's an actual comedian, and I was like, I was going to comment. And they're like, "You're a comedian?" Yes. I've not been drinking today. I had been, and so as the first time I got up.
But you don't count that as your first.
I didn't tell any jokes.
Right.
So no. But the one I did work for was for the open mic with UMC. Yeah, and I remember I was like, that guy's really fucking good.
Oh.
But it was also the expectation first time going to a show. You're like, is anyone going to be any good at this? Because I'm on it. Like,
yeah. Isn't that funny that when you're first doing it, you look for a night, or you look for like It's really bad. You look at people who are doing comedy, and you have to go, and you unfortunately you have to make judgments in your head.
That's
and
exactly what I did. I went to the open mics and was like, because your fear is that like the only comedy you see are like shows you pay money into by seeing like celebrities, comic celebrities, or stuff you see on Netflix. Like, this is terrible, right? This is how dumb I am. Like, I'd watch an hour special on Netflix, like up till a couple of years ago, and it'd still be amazed that he knew that, or she knew that everyone was going to laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does he know what's going to work, in an hour show? And then you realize, he's done it like hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can actually write something where people are going to laugh, So you go to the open mics and you figure out, no, this is where you learn if things are funny. And then you see people who do okay, but they don't have a killer set or whatever.
Yeah.
You go, I think I've got, a structure of a couple of jokes there. I think I can do that.
Yeah, and I think like even if you go to like a full night on a Friday in Wellington when you watch a comedy show, I mean, there's audiences, and you go like, anyone could do well at this night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So open mics are really, I actually think they're harder than than your pro nights, because they're like...
Yeah, because I think it's the expectation as well.
Yeah.
People buy into there's posters. The tickets were $25. They've seen it marketed quite well.
Yeah.
So everyone and everyone's has committed their time to this and thought about going to it. But sometimes an open mic can be let's just go see what this is about. And it's $10 in. There could be 10 people there. So there's not that excitement of a night out. So the expectation isn't there. But with the pro shows, people are out to really, unless you're doing really badly.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. You can feel like you actually are. It's way easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even people like, I obviously I don't know what it's like to be like I sometimes wonder if you're a really successful comedian, like so much of that hard work, you've done all that hard work, people know who you are, and so the expectation is that people will laugh at you no matter what. Like, imagine going to a night where people just know that you're going to make them laugh. I think that we have to work pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because people are like, well, I have no idea if you're funny or not, so prove it. So yeah.
Because you know how people don't know us. They come up after and like, you were really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow, I laughed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I know. What's the point? And they're like, no, I didn't. I seen you, and no, not funny.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for people who can make an audience of 10 laugh. Though, an open mic, someone makes 10 people laugh. I'm like, brilliant, well done.
Yeah,
that's very impressive.
I want to try out like some of my material in places that do not want comedy.
Right.
Like doing it at a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
And just like, hey, put on a song and then just do jokes over it. If they get a laugh, I'm like, that's a really good joke.
Yeah.
Although people take their karaoke in Wellington quite seriously.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Have you dabbled?
In my time, but it's an odd concept, isn't it, karaoke? Like, here's me singing along to a song that you all know.
Badly.
Well,
I've never heard you
that's
sing.
the point, right? I mean, I don't like going to karaoke where people are good.
No, you just like, we could have just went to a show.
Mm. Do you know the song Ebenezer Good? Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
Ebenezer
Good. Ebenezer Good.
That was one of them songs that when I was a kid I learned all the words, and
your parents didn't have a problem with that.
no, and I used to rewind the tape and write all the lyrics down, and it just stuck with me. Then I was at university. That was like my that was my thing. That was my party piece.
Your party
Karaoke Ebenezer Good. Chris is up on the stage. Smashing out some shaman. Yeah. So that's my dabbling with karaoke.
Well, it's more impressive. Well, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Instead of with jokes, I freestyled over hip hop beats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to MC. I used to be an MC rapper, and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You don't hear about many Irish ones. I hope that's not offensive to say, but you don't generally.
Actually, extremely offensive, Chris.
Good old racist Christoph.
The Englishman comes on. It's like, oh, you rap, do you? No.
But you don't get many, do you? Or maybe there are.
There is in Ireland, but they don't tend to like. There was one guy. I think we talked about it. Petty. There's one guy who made it like quite big in the US, but
right,
had stuff on the radio in Ireland, but never really like never made a career. Like I think the thing I think it is that with England you had your own style. You had grime.
Yeah.
So that blew hip hop up. In the UK, and you had something you could definitely call your own.
It was
it was your
had
own.
its own identity.
Exactly. Where in Ireland, you'd have a lot of people, especially in the early times, doing like American accents.
Okay. Right.
And then you'd have like the really hard accents, the North Dublin accents, which is like I love it. I love the accent, but it's a rough accent to listen to.
Mm.
So. Or jarring, so I'll say.
Yeah.
And what I would hear from a lot of people is like, I can't get behind listening to rap with an Irish accent on it.
Right.
Because it didn't. I don't know if it felt. It doesn't to people who are like a casual listener to hip hop. It sounded wrong.
So this guy you were talking about, does he rap in a?
He has like is a big Wexford accent, like but. Smooth it out for hip hop, you know what I mean? Like it's a performance voice, but it's still a very Irish accent. And he'd do really well in America, but not really well in Ireland. Or he'd sell out in Dublin and say that, but couldn't like just whatever reason couldn't like break the music industry.
Oh, so that must have helped you as a performer then. You've been on stage with the mic.
People laughed more when I rapped. Yeah, I've never had like stage fright or like I have more now than I've ever had, because with everything else I used to DJ as well, and I did all these kind of things, but with this people hone in on exactly what you say, so you just no place to hide. Because if you're rapping or something like that, you can be kind of get away with just the music, people not really hearing you. And the same with DJing, like you can have a laptop on, so it doesn't really matter like if you can't mix, because you could just have it done for you. So you can look like you know what you're doing, which is pretty much what I was doing. With stand up, it's like it's more nerve wracking because
it's just you.
It's 100% just you.
Yeah.
And like you can't hide behind anything other than what you say on stage.
Yeah.
And that's actually turned out why I fucking love it, because it's all the work in making that work on stage.
It's very empowering, is it? Like it gives you a real, it gives you a certain power that I feel. Like I love that feeling when you like, and you know something's coming, or your bit's coming, and you've crafted this thing that like causes that reaction. There's nothing like it.
No. And it could be a room of 20 people, and you're like, wait for this, and it lands, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
No, it's. So what started you into, like, what was it that?
Oh, mine's a bit of a weird story. So
Yes,
I
here we
did
go.
like weird. Yeah. I don't know how to say that, making it too long. But it took me a long
We have
time to took me a long time to do it, because I had a bit of a I was an actor, right? Years ago, I wanted to be an actor, right?
You are a handsome man.
yeah, but I'm also pretty generic looking, so I was never going to get a lot of work. Anyway, so I kind of decided acting wasn't for me in my kind of mid-20s. And then I went through a bit of a period.
Question,
Oh, yeah.
Before you go into it, now, did you decide acting wasn't for you, or did acting decide you weren't for it?
I think I realised that you needed to be really dedicated to get anywhere close, and I realised that I don't have that.
You were like, I'm gonna stand up and go.
Yeah. Well, then I didn't sort of do anything for years, and
Yeah.
then I built up. Did this thing where I built up in my head that I really wanted to do comedy, but I was like really scared that it wouldn't work. And so for years I was like, I just made this mounted out the whole thing, and I was like, no, I can't do it. It won't work. And I was really scared that I wouldn't be good at it, so I just ignored it. And then and I had this all that bit of that kind of like, it's that rubbish that you tell yourself. You can tell yourself some really stupid shit about yourself that's not true, like, oh, you won't be good enough, or they won't laugh, or you'll fight. You know what I mean? Like all that. So I had to. So even like my first achievement, or my best achievement, was when I did it for the first time, because I never thought I'd even get to that point. I just like absolutely terrified of it. But it was more like I just sort of thought, like, if I don't do this, I'm going to become 50 years old and go, I never did it, I regret it, kind of thing. And I think I was about sort of my mid-30s. I was like, no, you actually need to do this, otherwise
You're gonna have it hanging with you.
Yeah, it's going to hang over you, and you're going to feel like a loser all your life, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it took me years to get over the fear of it, and I just made a complete... And then I turned up, and there's like 18-year-olds out of school knocking out 6 minutes here and there. Like, where did you get that confidence from? Like, yeah. So, yeah, weirdly, it was a bit of that.
Do you think you build it up? Well, do you think you build it up in your head so much because you knew it would be something that you really, really, really wanted to, like, really wanted to do? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was terrified that I was like, oh, if this isn't my thing, like, that would be really heartbreaking. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to like suck at it, because because like deep down I thought, I think I'll be quite good at this, and I was just terrified that I just wasn't gonna be. So yeah, and then I just told myself all that.
I'm too busy.
Rubbish. Yeah, I'm too busy, and and it might not work, or you won't get accepted, or people won't. It's nonsense stuff that you tell yourself, and then I did it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's all right. It isn't as bad as it completely isn't as bad as I thought. So yeah,
and
so now I'm like, oh, if I'd have started 10 years ago.
But do you think, like, I get the same feeling. I should have started years ago.
Yeah.
But do you think that the time that you spent doing other things and maybe growing up has helped
that experience?
Yeah. So you don't have, because I suppose if you come out, you're 18, 19, and you just start doing comedy.
What are you talking about, right?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But you're maybe if your observations aren't killer at that age, you don't learn how to experience. Like, you don't have the experience of life.
Yeah.
At that age, I think sometimes starting a little bit later can give you maybe a completely different perspective on it, and maybe sometimes you can skip past some time if you start earlier, because you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't do this, because in my in real life, like, your approach to things change, and you find out, like, more efficient, or you're better at networking, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do think a bit. I think I probably. Yeah, I definitely think that, but I do think I probably left it, because there's still people. There's people who are like, in New Zealand, who are younger than me and have achieved sort of so much, because they've been doing it for so long. So I do kind of wish I hadn't left it that long. But I'm also like, well, it is what it is. You make what you can of it. And you do what you can.
What's your plan for the future? Like, where do you see yourself? Not in 5 years, but like in terms of comedy, what's your aim of trying to do with it?
I think it's just everything I've ever. I've always just. I don't know. I sort of like. I'll set a goal, then I'll try and reach that one, and I'll set a goal, and I'll try and reach that one. I don't really have a 5-year plan. I don't know.
No, that wasn't the right question to ask. But like, you know,
No, I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
Like, where do I don't really know. It's one of them things. I don't really know what the parameters are really. Like, I don't know how far you can take it in Wellington. I got my family here, and I can't really go I can't really, spend weeks in Auckland and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think at this point, just if I can get that hour show and just be comfortable with that, see if I can maybe take it to a few places and just get used to doing hours, that would be sort of there. And then we'll just see how far it goes.
I think what you're saying, because now that you before you started, you built it up so much to this big thing, and you're like, if I don't do this, it's going to hang over me. But I think sometimes now that you've done it, it's like, well, I can just see where this goes. It's now that you're doing it, and you're actually in the middle of doing stand up and doing comedy. You don't no longer have this thing like I never know what it would be like. You kind of accept what it is because you're doing it. You don't have the pressure on what becomes of it isn't really there, because you can go out and do 6 or 10 minutes and have a really good time doing that, and you're like, well, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I think you have to ask yourself that, why are you doing it? Because some people just do it because every so often they like to make a room of people laugh. I think for me, like, I don't want to become someone who's like, I've taken it this far, I'll just ride it out and just enjoy it. I mean, that was one way I could look at it. But equally, I'm a bit like, well, no, why don't I just see how far I can take it? How far, or how. Or maybe not think of it so much of like, where could I be, what could I do, but just sort of see how good I can be at it. You know, like, it's sort of more about my own ability. It's really, like, oddly, I don't know if you know this about me, but I follow boxing. And, the boxer Anthony Joshua?
Yeah.
See, like, I really love listening to him talk, because he always talks about everything you achieve, the belts, whatever, it doesn't matter. All that stuff all those little milestones and that kind of thing, it's not about that. It's like, what's important is that I'm making myself a better person.
Yeah.
And so I love, like, it's pretty deep, but I like checking in with myself. Like, think of it about, like, what is this doing for me? How am I building up myself and my prestige and my... Do you know what I mean? So it's about my own development rather than what's out there.
100%.
100, yeah.
I do very similar thing. I think the more I put into stand up, and the more I look at it as how am I bettering myself through it. I can see my life getting better. And I'm talking of just like my relationships with people and how I interact with people, and my thought process on a lot of things are growing. And it's because, you're dedicated to this thing, whatever it is. And you can see the benefits of dedicating yourself to this one objective. And the objective isn't to be the best stand-up in the world. It's to be the best stand-up you can be.
You can be. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
and how then it's like that rising tides lift all ships. That's a saying, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's like I've seen improvements just in myself from doing stand up, because you're focused on one thing, and it kind of brings everything else up.
Yeah.
I
just like that feeling of like, I love that feeling of being good at something. Like, I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but like, it's nice to feel like when I look at other things, people are pretty good at not rating themselves at something, right? They're quite good at being sort of self-deprecating. And I don't know, I like it when you watch someone or you're inspired by someone who's like really good at what they do, their field kind of thing. And I think I kind of want that. I want to be good at something. I want to be really good at something, I don't know how to put it apart from those words, but
it's that. Well, why do you want to be good at something? It's like when you have a really good show. Sometimes for me, it's not so much the people going up and high-fiving you, but it's like the head nod from someone in the show going, "Yeah, that was good,"
like a tip of the cap.
Yeah, just like a little, like, because it's like a recognition.
Yeah.
Of like you're good.
Yeah, but also I think I want to, when I'm older, I want to look back and have dedicated myself to something that I really wanted to get good at, and to see the product that has come from all those years of work into something. Like I've always struggled with my career. I've never really known what I want to do work wise, but comedy is something as my hobby, as a pursuit. It's just something that I can see myself doing until I'm 70 years old.
Yeah, I can't see you can't see yourself retiring.
No, I can't.
Why would you?
No, it's too good. I just love it. But in terms of my career and what I earn money from, I've never really had something like, I want this and I want to progress here. Comedy is the one thing that I'm like, is it just inside me? I'm like, yeah, this is what I'll be doing this when I'm 70. I think.
Let's hope there's not another pandemic.
Yeah.
But that's very true, and that's cool. You've kind of realised that. And you're moving in that direction where you're like, this is something you want to put your time into and see where what comes out of it, and treating that as not only like a self improvement,
absolutely,
but it's like it's something to follow your passion. I think is always something that can only lead to good things. Maybe not like financially, but like just for yourself, and for your family, and for yourself as a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
You follow your passion. I think the best of you comes out.
Yeah, and that's like I say, that was what I was worried about. That I was gonna, before I did comedy, and I was like, not wanting to do it, and I was too scared to do it. That's what I was worried about. Is getting older and not have really done that thing that I knew was kind of passionate about.
This is one of the reasons I got into comedy. And it's a really, really, really fickle reason. I was in a job interview, and this was in London at the time. And the person giving me an interview was like, "Oh, you're very funny," or said something like that. And she's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to try comedy." This is what she said herself. Yeah. And I was like, she's like, "Oh, I've been saying it for years and I've never done it, but I think I'd really be funny." I've never forgotten her saying that. I'm like, I'm gonna do comedy. I'm not gonna end up like you. Saying in an interview at 10 o'clock in the morning, I could have been really funny. I could have been on stage. I just did it to spite that lady. I don't know who she is anymore. But in my head, I've never forgotten that interaction. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be funny. This is like, this is 10 years ago.
Right.
But I've never forgotten that. But it's like, it's that thing in you.
Like a spark.
That little spark. Sometimes people say in comedy, you need someone to do something like in spite. You need someone to kind of push you along. Like you have something in your head, like a little bit of a fuck you too. Like Jerry Seinfeld talked about it was Mitzi Shore in the Comedy Store. Like she didn't like him and she pushed him and pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. And wouldn't book him in the Comedy Store, but he said, "Fuck you, I'm gonna good enough so you can't say no."
Yeah.
Now, clearly, I don't know who this person is, but it was kind of that one of those things. Another driving factor was like, no, you say. I remember sitting in that interview going, "No, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it before you do it."
Yes.
Now she may have done it before me, but in my head, look.
Yeah. I've got a similar story. So that year that I started, and I was umming and ahhing, and my head was going like, "You've got to do this. This is a kind of a now or never." Because I was a teacher. I was teaching, and I took a year off just to kind of relief teach and kind of just And I was saying to myself, 2017, Kris, is the year, and you need to do it. You've got to do it. And then my son came home once, and he'd just been with his mate. He was only like 8, I think, at the time, 7 or 8. And he said, "Oh, my friend is so funny. He should be like one of those people who stand up." And I was like, "That's it. I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it now. I'll book it. I'll fine. I'll do it." You know what I mean? And it was like, I can't have my own son find his best mate funnier than his dad, and all the So
fuck you,
that was my thing.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I know.
You're messed up, fucking funny.
But that was a good motivation because I was like, that's also I got to think like when I'm older, I need to show my kids that I actually got off my arse and faced my fears.
Yeah,
and that's a good sort of motivation.
That's a really good motivation
tool. Because I couldn't have them. I didn't want to be like. I needed to have some kind of story that was like No, I did it. I did. I finally did it.
I completely lost what I was going to ask you there. That's good.
That's all right.
No, it's some now. Where we go now with kids stand up. Oh yeah, here we go. So in terms of, well, you had that part. Obviously, you hate that kid, so you need to be better at stand up than him. Did you ever feel, or in company of people that goes, oh, he's really funny, you know, like, he should be a stand up comedian? Or no, sorry, that's not the question. When you hear people who've done stand up comedy saying, oh, people always told me when I was younger, you should try it. You should try stand up comedy. Did anyone ever? I heard of those people, and I'd be like, no one said that to me, and I don't like that they've said that about him.
Right, yeah. Like, mine's sort of the opposite. So I've always been, like, at primary school, I was the clown, and at home, I was always the funny one in my family. And I guess, like, even like in my workplaces, if people described me, most of the time it would be, you know, oh, he's a funny guy or whatever kind of thing. So, like, that was even more of a thing that was like, you know, like, it's my thing. I naturally, like, even like, and I find what's nice about doing comedy is now I don't have to spend so much time trying to make people laugh in real life. Like, a lot of, like, when I'm with like when I'm teaching or whatever, I can't help making kids laugh. I just enjoy it. I obviously get so much from it that I'll just, you know, it's so embedded in me to try and make people laugh generally in sort of social situations that is, now I'm doing stand-up comedy, I don't have to do it so much out of stand-up comedy. It's like, it's a good way to like focus my energy to a really productive place rather than spending my time in social situations trying to make groups of people laugh.
Yeah, you're literally describing like a lot of what I would go through was like, now I don't try as hard as I used to try and make people laugh.
Exactly, yeah.
I might do the odd time, but to be honest with you, most of the time now that people like kind of know I'm doing comedy, I try and stay more quiet. You know? Yeah, I try and be like, whatever. I don't try and act out as much. Like, we were talking before the podcast, I used to work in real estate.
Yeah.
And this is when I was thinking of doing comedy. And look, you have to talk to these people. And I talk to like loads, maybe 100 people a day. So I'd be trying out bits on people, showing them around houses and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, can I make these two people laugh? And to me, humor is a skill that disarms people, especially in a one-to-one situation, or you're meeting people for the first time. Humor has always been my go-to. It's always been my kind of tension.
Yeah. Quasher or whatever.
Crusher, yeah. That's how I break. Like, obviously, people, you know, icebreakers, but I always try and make people laugh, because once I know I can make people laugh, I'm like, okay, now I know where we can go with this conversation, because you get into the humor and you disarm them basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great tool to have. Yeah, and I think it's actually one of the reasons that I've got jobs in job interviews, because I've been like relatively, you know, free spirited and a bit, I don't know, cheeky and funny or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, so
I love job. How do you feel about job interviews?
Oh, I'm dying to just to get one. I don't come across well on paper, so I'm like, oh, come and if you don't like me when you come and see me, I'm good with that. It's just like getting past the paper bit. I just don't know how to write CVs.
I'm the same. I despise writing CVs. I'm like, get me in the room.
Yeah,
I've got a chance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get me in the room. Yeah. I'm getting a call back.
Yeah, because this bit of paper, that is not me. It's not. You know, I can't come across. And if I try and come across like me on a piece of paper, I'm gonna look. It's gonna look
like a ridiculous CV. I've done that. I try when I was like back after the big crash. I was like trying everything to get work. So I was writing these insane CVs. It's like, you should just hire me. I'm amazing. Like, the cringiest things you could think of. I was like, it might get somewhere, but never did.
Well, the fear is, like, for me, is that I don't want to. I like funny, but I've never liked zany and quirky and that. Like, those people are like, I'm mad, I am. Like, no, you're really not.
Oh man,
that's what I don't want to come across alike. So I'm like, get me in a room and I'll, you
love my friend Jeff. He's mad.
Yeah.
I don't think I like Jeff.
I've met a few of them in my time where like, I'm mad, I am. And no, clearly you're not, because you're telling me.
Yeah. Oh, you get that. It's like, oh, I'm a riot to be around.
Yeah.
You're like, this is going painfully badly.
Yeah. So
I could say anything, me. I'm like, please don't. Yeah, I've come across a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get your family trying to tell you jokes now because they know you're a comedian? My parents can't stop spamming. Sorry, man, Dad, they listen. They don't stop spamming me with jokes, and I'm like, oh God, no. And then my friends, like, do you get that? A lot of people trying to like make you laugh.
A little bit, yeah. That's quite nice actually. My dad had written down. I went to see my family at Christmas, and my dad had written down some sort of stand-up stuff. He'd written it down. He's like 60, in his late 60s. It was really cool. We sat down and like read what he written.
Oh, that's
It was a
cool.
really nice. He's like my idol, my dad. He's like he's the funniest man in the world to me. He's like just he's my what's the word? He's my he's my comedy idol. Is my dad.
Anthony Joshua.
First more him Anthony Joshua. Then it's the 8-track, and then it's like So I don't get so much of the that kind of thing. But people often tell, like, what I get a lot of is people will tell me anecdotes. They'll say like, oh, this happened to me the other day. And then they'll say like, oh, you could use that. You could use like, well, no, I can't. It's your story.
That's the worst one. You could use that. And you're like, how?
Yeah.
How can I? Well, you make it funny.
Yeah. I think people genuinely think that comedy is just telling anecdotes and stories of things that happened to you in your life, which it is for some people. But like, I haven't had that much of an interesting life to have like a backlog of anecdotes and stuff like that.
Well, people think, oh, you just go up there and you tell a funny story. Because if you think about it, from like, I didn't know how to write a joke before I started comedy, and what I thought was how to write a joke is not, the structure of a joke. You learn the structure of a joke. So to me, it was like, tell a funny story, and I just knew how to do a punchline just from watching stand-up. So I knew there had to be a snappy moment to get the laugh.
Yeah.
But like, everyone, there was a guy at the show at Newtown, and he was being a bit chatty, but this is, the type of, not a heckler, but like the positive reinforcer, like, and it's like, you just want to do stand up and you don't know, you want to be part of the show, you don't know how to do it. And he came up to me after and he was like, I was a bit loud, I'm sorry. He was fine, he wasn't bad during the show, but he was like, how do you do it? You just go up and like tell stories. And I was like, yeah. Because you can't say, well, you need to write some jokes, you need to write some structure, and then you just go up and tell a story. You'll figure it out, I think. I
think it's a good place to start, isn't it? But you've got to embellish your story. There's got to be some kind of craft
obviously.
to it, usually. But
usually.
But it's not a bad place to start in comedy, I think, if you can just stand up and tell a story. It's not a bad place. It's a bit like, I know people who are very funny in the way that they tell stories, but I can't quite imagine them upstage doing stand-up, but they're fantastic storytellers, and you can sit around and just listen to them, and they'll make you laugh in their stories. But they're not necessarily of stand-up-y people,
because you don't necessarily tell stories on stage. You tell jokes in the guise of a story.
Yeah.
So you take something that happened to you, and then you add structure to that, which kind of takes some of the story out. You put the story through the joke machine.
Right.
And you have to come up with, you know what I mean? So it is still a story, but you're peppering it with setups and punchlines throughout the story.
Yeah.
So I think I like to mine like content from get content from my life and just try and think of funny things that have happened.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily always funny, but where there's an opportunity for a joke, and then try and run it through the mill of like, is there enough set up here for, set up punchlines? Yeah. And some of those stories I've done on stage have just died. And I'm like, this is hilarious. In a 4 or 5 people in a room, I'll tell it, people will be like, what the fuck? But on stage, just dies.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out how to do it all the way, bring stories to the stage.
Yeah. But I'm not a natural storyteller. Like say if we're at a party or on dinner or and you're with people, and I try and tell a story, I've never had that ability to kind of make a story really interesting and funny. Right. But I can put my own spin on something and talk in a mic and make a bit of a joke out of it.
Yeah.
It's a weird mix. I can't. Yeah.
See, my dad is like is a storyteller.
Right.
So he is like that's where I get that from. I've seen him hold court with like loads of people around the dining room table, just making the place fall apart with laughter. So I've seen that since I was like 3 or 4. So that's where a lot of my style comes from. And I've seen it, like, he used to do theatre. Like, I say that like he was doing it a lot. He did it like 3 or 4 times just because he was hilarious on stage. Not in a funny role.
So who's this?
This is my dad.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So I get a lot of my on stage confidence.
Yeah.
From my dad. I'm making it sound like he was on stage a lot. He was on stage like twice.
Right.
In like a local play. But his the way he'd like tell stories at parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And his general demeanor anywhere is just genuinely hilarious. Like, it's just extremely confident and cocky and just an absolute legend of a man. And I get an awful lot of that from him.
Yeah.
Especially with the making stuff up on the spot and being really good at it and convincing people.
Yeah. Because it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes I think stories to strangers is a very different thing stories to people that you know. You know, like I think when you're in a circle of friends and there's that camaraderie feeling and you can tell a story and it's...
They've already bought in. Like,
exactly.
You're in a room with 4 or 5 people, you've already bought in.
Yeah. There's more context. But you can't apply that to a stand-up setting
the only
as
time
easily.
It's so I did Shannon's show in the last Fringe. It was Travails with my ex. So the premise of the show was very, very... not simple, but it was simple for the crowd to understand. It's like, these comedians are all going to talk about a trip they went on with their ex. So the audience knew the premise of the show. So they already know the premise of your story.
Yeah.
So all the hard lifting is done for you.
Yeah.
So I did, it was all new material I did that night, and it all worked really well. But it worked really well because the heavy lifting, and they already bought into the idea of the show, and they knew what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
So it made the story work.
Right.
But I imagine if I did do that at an open mic, it'd probably bomb most of it.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
exactly.
what's this about?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's about the setting up of the show and setting up of the story and try to create that atmosphere when you're in a room with 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, sort of knowing the situation you're in and the context of the show you're in. And yeah.
Like, I've seen some comedians, like Ari Shafir had a show, what was it called? It was on Comedy Central. It was just a storytelling show.
Okay.
And one of the comedians on it, Joey Diaz, like, he's got 4 or 5 stories on it, and they are amazing. Not just stories, but like hilariously funny as well, but also put you in tears. And it's all that wrapped up in 17 minutes.
Right.
And it's like, that's the kind of comedy I'd love to be able to do.
Right. Yeah.
Like, really more storytelling, but I find it very hard to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think it always works as well.
Yeah. There's that show called Cool Story Bro, isn't there, in Wellington? I've never asked to be on it because I'm like, it's not really the anecdotal sort of comedian.
I really wish you would have told me you weren't good at telling stories before I asked you on the podcast.
No. Yeah. I just don't know. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know. I've always been a listener. You know, I'm a big listener of. You know, like if I'm in a conversation, I'll always go. You go first. You know what I mean? I'm like, you tell me about you. Quite a passive conversationalist, I guess.
I just want to touch on one more thing before we about to wrap up. We've done about an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
So we're this too
I
long.
could do
ones in a
another
row.
3 nights. Yeah. What?
It was what you talked about with Andrew Joshua, and like you look at boxing, and you find inspiration there. And do you find that there are crossovers between like elite athletes or that mindset and doing comedy, like in terms of the preparation, in terms of like obviously not to diet, but the mindset, like if you get really good at something, I think to me if you're really good at something, you get really into it. You can see that there's bridges between like top level comedians and top level athletes. Does that ring true to you at all, or?
Yeah, and I think you also you see comedians who just have that natural talent in the same way that you see sportsmen who are just naturally gifted at what they do. It's a bit tricky, I think, because I think with comedy you have to be careful that. I find I have to be careful that I'm not too over-prepared, I'm not too psyched up, I'm not too... Because part of what I want to do is also to be able to kind of relax and be open for it to be free-flowing.
Mm-hmm.
But equally, I do believe that I kind of need to work hard. I put a lot of work in before I go out for the night. I will practice my set. And if I'm doing an open mic, I won't waste it on just... I've had the odd sort of time, but like if I'm going to write a joke and I'm going to go to an open mic and I'm going to perform it, I want to work on it first because I don't want it to be wasted. I don't want that time to be wasted because I've gone out, I've written it, I've driven there, I've waited for my turn. I've only got 6 minutes out of an hour and a half show. Do you know what I mean? So a little bit, I understand the work ethic, and I think you do have to work kind of hard. I think my thing is I don't sort of know how much I don't think I work enough on what I'm actually going to do to, I should probably be doing more online content. I should probably be sort of filming myself more. I should probably be listening to myself more. But I definitely think there's definitely a comparison kind of thing. I do psych myself up. I do, I'm quite, when I'm performing on stage, I'm like, go on, Kris, come on. And it sounds really sad. I keep saying to myself the word power before I go on stage. It's so cheesy, isn't it? But I'll say myself power. Like I don't know.
You shouldn't have let me know that.
You're gonna see me in the thing.
I just make power.
It's just that way of like, yeah. It's so cheesy, but for whatever reason it works. Just that kind of like,
I think everyone has their own little technique. I just I'd psych myself up as well. I never used to do that. I never used to do that, and then I started like, oh, that works. It kind of sometimes it gets you out of yourself a little bit, and you can almost, if you're not in a good headspace or a good humor, it can kind of jolt that, and you go, well, we're gonna fake it tonight, but we're gonna, put you in that right mindset. Try and force that right mindset.
Yeah, I think especially with how nervous I get as well. You think about how nervous.
You get nervous.
I do get very nervous. Yeah, and then it's that thing. I mean, probably the same for everyone. As soon as your name gets called and you go up, I'm like, yeah, this is right. I'm kind of good, but definitely into that kind of like geeing myself and getting myself a little bit psyched for the occasion. Yeah, and I sort of tell like I do it as a bit of a talk to myself thing. Like, go on, Kris.
Yeah, and I do that. I do that.
Yeah.
I remember once I bombed really bad at the powwow room at the first time I was ever there. And I came back and had a mediocre set, like a month later. Like, not a great set, but mediocre.
Yeah.
And I went into the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, was like, fucking did it.
Yeah.
Look now, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God, Shannon, no.
Yeah.
But that was me buzzing for the night because I didn't bomb, and I was like, I beat it. I beat the powwow room.
Yeah.
Now I fucking love it. I love that spot now.
When I started out, I think the first 6 gigs I did were like, I was like, oh. No, I just couldn't break it. I couldn't get that like reaction that I was really after. And then the one time, and then when I finally got that one, and the audience just kind of loved it. And I got in my car and I was like a child, just screaming and fist pumping, and like it's just an amazing feeling. Like,
yeah. I think it's funny. The more you talk about how your experience is stand up, it just seems to just ping back to me. I'm like, oh yeah, because the first time I did it, I was okay. It started out strong and then just died, but I didn't care. And then it took me like 4 or 5 other times, and then I got it on like the 5th or 6th time.
Yeah,
where that was killing to me at the time, where I got like consistent and a few really big laughs, and I was like,
yeah, and also a bit of relief, hey, like,
I was like,
I could make this work.
Yeah.
And
then I spent ages trying to get that back. It just didn't. I was like, oh fuck. Yeah. Okay, I think we're about 1 hour and 25 minutes in, so that's
oh wow,
still going.
God, imagine if people were listening to this. I wonder if they're still here now, like listening and going, "Yeah, I've had an hour and 28, and
Okay,
that
so
was enough."
for the people that are, because I know people do watch the episodes, right?
Does it tell you how long they watch
Yeah,
it for?
it does.
Oh, okay.
So,
Right,
so I
right,
know
right.
people who are coming up to me in the street when I listen to their podcast are fucking liars.
Yeah.
Because the average listen time is 13 minutes. So a lot of people, you're being very fucking nice, but you're lying.
Oh, and we didn't even speak about comedy in the first 13 minutes. Oh, well, if you're still here, thanks for...
Yeah, if you're still here, Mum, I love you. So you're going to be at my show on the 21st. Oh no, I'm in trouble now. I've said my show.
yeah.
Me and Gav's show. Gav's and mine show. It's really Gav's show. I have nothing to do with it. Newtown Social Club on the 21st. What else are you doing?
Next week, I don't know when this will go out, but
It's be out on Sunday.
So
on
cool.
the
Okay.
I really shouldn't be using the computer.
Is it-
It'll be out
if
on
it-
the 9th.
Nice. Well, if you're watching on the if you're listening on the 9th, and I'm hosting the Raw Meat Monday on the Monday, and I'm hosting the Medicine on the Wednesday, and then I've
And the
got
12th. I'm on that
the
night as well.
12th. Oh, lovely stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a wrap, Chris.
Oh,
Thanks so much for being on.
thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.